everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a very exciting video, and that is going to be my end of the year stats for 2022. I think at this point I've just come to the conclusion that everybody on BookTube loves some good statistics. So today I'm going to be going over mine with you. So we're going to go through like the information that Goodreads gives me. I'm going to look at Storygraph stats, and then at the end of the video I thought we could look back on what my reading goals were for the year, see if I accomplished them, and then we can talk about my few goals that I have for 2023. So I'm very excited about this video and we're just gonna get into it. I think start off with Goodreads stats. Even though they give you kind of the most basic information, it is like the essential numbers that we're here to talk about. So for the two numbers that everybody wants to know, well, like I want to know them, so I'm gonna assume other people want to know them. I read 137 books this year, which is quite a bit, and I'm still not exactly sure how that happened, to be honest, because one of my goals for this year was to read less than I read last year, but read more like quality books, you know, like quality over quantity. But I also wasn't gonna stop myself if I wanted to read all of these books, so I just had the best time kind of just reading everything that I wanted to pick up this year, and I'm just really happy with the amount of the books and the quality of the books that I read. So even though I didn't quite hit that goal, I'm not mad about it. And then I also read 48,127 pages, which is more pages than I read last year too, which is really cool, and I'm very excited about that. So then we have my longest book and my shortest book. My shortest book is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is 48 pages. I read that book in October and I really enjoyed it. I think this is like one of the classics that I ended up giving a rating to just because it was so short and I had a really fun time reading it, so I was like, all right, 5 stars for you, sure. And then the longest book that I read this year, I just finished yesterday, and I'm so excited that I managed to fit a like over 1,000 page book into the year. Like, does it matter whatsoever if I read a book that is in like the 4-digit range? No. But it does like tickle something in my brain because I think it's fun. Also in 2020 and 2021, I also read books that were over 1,000 pages, so I think it's kind of just like a mental goal of mine to read a book that's over 1,000 pages, mainly because I just like it being over 1,000 pages. But also, every single long book I've ever read, I've given a 4 or 5 stars, so clearly like I like long books, and the payoff is definitely like there for long books, but normally I just can't get myself to pick them up, so if I make them like a goal for the year, then I like try my hardest to get to them. This year was kind of cutting it close because it's literally the 31st as I'm filming this video, and I finished Words of Radiance yesterday, but I did it, I loved it, I'm not mad about it. Next up I have my average book length, which is 351 pages, which sounds about right. I've read a lot of graphic novels this year as well, which definitely like drags that average down, but I love my graphic novels and I will not stop reading them, so 351 is also just like not bad. My most shelved book this year does not surprise me at all, and it is Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, with 7,566,870 people that have also shelved. Honestly, as it deserves. I love that book. Like, it's so bad, but I love it so much. And then the least shelved book is Zero's Journey. Poor Zero. Nobody loves it. No, but it was just like a really cute manga. I had a really good time reading it, but also I'm not surprised that it is my least shelved. My average rating for this year is a 4.0, which again doesn't surprise me. I think that's what's been my average rating for the last 3 years. Honestly, I'm not like super harsh giving out star ratings to books. I'm like, if the vibes were there, I'll give it like a decent rating, you know? Like, I don't put a ton of importance on rating books too critically, to be honest, because like if I had a good time and I really had a good reading experience, then I will generally rate a book high. Then after that, it just gives me like book covers of all the books that I've read this year. So those are all the Goodreads stats. They give you the basics, but we're gonna get into the fun stats, which are the Storygraph stats, because they give me all of the pretty graphs that I don't have to make myself. So it's perfect. I wish I loved using Storygraph like normally, because every time I do one of these videos, I just like import my Goodreads library. But the user interface of Storygraph makes me want to scream, honestly, so I can't do it. However, I do appreciate it for what it does. So the first graph I have here is moods. Obviously there is a ton of adventurous moods because I read a lot of fantasy, not surprising. Then we have emotional, mysterious, lighthearted, funny, tense, and then a bunch of tiny ones, which which nobody really cares about. Then we have page number, 33% were under 300, 15% were 500 plus, and then we have 53% in the 300 to 499 range. That sounds about right. I don't read a ton of long books, but I do want to change that next year. Then we have fiction versus nonfiction. I'm not surprised that there's only 1% of nonfiction in here, and I think I know the 2 books that it is. Yep, it is Sappho and Ghostland, An American History in Haunted Places. So I don't love nonfiction. I'm not a nonfiction girly. I can't get into it. Maybe at some other point in time I will. Like, I feel like if I could find topics I'm just interested in as far as nonfiction goes, then like obviously I would pick them up. But I'm also in college currently, so I'm like, do I want to do more learning in my free time? No, not really. So currently nonfiction books are not really a priority of mine, but maybe at some point I will become a nonfiction girly, who knows. Then we have my genres. This is always one of my favorite ones to look at just because I love a good bar graph. You know what I'm saying? Obviously there are a ton of young adult books on this list. There are 77, which is literally like 75% of the books that I read. Again, not surprising because I love YA fantasy. I don't read YA contemporary, so basically all of these are YA fantasy books, as they should be. Then I read 74 books, which are just fantasy in general. Obviously fantasy is the preferred genre on this channel. Nobody's surprised. Then we have romance. 54 romance books. It's also not a surprise that I love a good romance, specifically fantasy romance. Like, that's the best romance for me personally, but very happy to see so many of them. Kind of surprised that there are so many contemporaries though, to be honest. I'm just very particular with the contemporary books that I pick up because for the most part, I don't want to read about real life. Personally, I just enjoy fantasy books more. I feel like the sense of escapism that they provide to me is just much, much higher, obviously, than any contemporary book I'm gonna pick up. I love a grand adventure. I love a high fantasy moment, so don't reach for a ton of contemporaries, but there are a few that I do enjoy. And then like a bunch of these others are pretty small. We have like mystery, historical, classics. Ooh, let's check out the classics. There's 8 of them. There's honestly more classics than I was expecting that I had read this year. Ooh, what is this sci-fi one? The 5th Season. Huh. I feel like I'd personally classify that one as just like regular fantasy, but I can see how it would, well, no, that is kind of sci-fi. Huh. So those are my genre stats. I don't expect them to really change, to be honest. Honestly, I hope that the number of fantasy books that I read next year is higher than the amount of books that I read this year because I just want 2023 to be the year of not living in like an actual reality, you know? Just like reading books about cooler places, I suppose. Next up, I have my most read authors. So obviously Tahereh Mafi is at the top because I read the entirety of the Shatter Me series this year. Sarah J Maas is up there as well because I think, yeah, I've just read a ton of Sarah J Maas books this year as well. Carrie Maniscalco's up there, Alice Oseman, Rochelle Mead with the Vampire Academy series. Cassandra Clare's up there. How did I read 5? What are the other 2? Oh, right, the mangas. Okay. Holly Black, Raven Kennedy, C.S. Bacot, which those are the Fence graphic novels, and Tetsuya Endo, those are the Spy Family mangas. So then we have like probably my favorite graph that Storygraph has blessed me with. So this is my number of books and pages chart by month. Obviously it's looking a little funky. We can see that I basically went off the rails in June. I don't know what I was on in June, but I read 22 books that month. It was probably because I was at home with nothing to do, but I have no regrets, to be honest. June was such a good month. I miss that. I miss having that much time to read, but I still have managed to read like a bunch of great books later in the year, but obviously I have read less books per month. But I feel like if I were to average out, the first and the second half of the year would probably be about the same. So then we get to my average star rating, which is a 4.03 on here, which aligns with Goodreads. I give a decent amount of 5 stars. There are 38 books that I've given 5 stars. Like I said earlier, I'm not too harsh of a critic. If I had a good time and the vibes were immaculate, I will give it a 5 stars. The majority of books I do give a 4-star, again, like for the same reason. 3-star books are still like good books, but they're just not my favorite books. And then we have my 2-star books, which all of these deserved it, honestly. Like, I have no regrets in giving any of these books 2 stars. So those are all kind of the Storygraph stats. To be honest, they didn't tell me anything that I didn't know. Basically, what I've learned is I give a lot of books 4 stars. I read a ton of fantasy, and well, that's basically all you need to know. We are going to look at my reading goals that I had for 2022. and we're gonna see how much they flopped. Like, I don't remember what they are, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they flopped. So, one of my goals for 2022 was to read more high fantasy. This did not happen. In the slightest, to be honest. Like, let me take a look here, because I do not read a ton of high fantasy. Not enough. Like, the kinds of high fantasy books that I want to read, like the Brandon Sanderson books and like the Robin Hobb books, did not happen. I read one Brandon Sanderson book this year, and it was Words of Radiance, so took me a minute to get there, but didn't happen, which is disappointing, but hopefully that can happen this year. And then I think the only other goal that I had for 2022 was to read less, which did not happen. However, I do think I might want to make that a goal for this year as well, just because obviously I have loved the 137 books that I've read this year. I found a lot of books that I really enjoyed, but I do find that there are a lot of books that I'm rather neutral on, that I don't have a lot of thoughts on, that like I could forget about them, and I probably already have. So I'm hoping to just be more picky with the books that I pick up, but I do want to attempt to like pick up more books that I think are going to be worth my time. I just want 2023 to be the year of just like good books, which is like the most general and basic goal that I'm sure we all have, but I just want to read some really good books. But I also, again, want to read more high fantasy, because every time I pick up a high fantasy book, I'm like, this is elite. This is so good. I always love them, but I never pick them up because they are incredibly intimidating to me still. But seeing as, let me mention this again, I read Words of Radiance over the last week, and that book was so good. Easy 5 stars. It's just reminded me how much I love high fantasy. So hopefully reading that at the end of this year will inspire me to pick up more high fantasy next year. Hopefully I can continue on with the Stormlight Archive. I really want to read some of Robin Hobb because I've just heard so many good things about her writing. I also want to pick up just like other adult fantasy books because I do like generally enjoy them. I am going to do a 2023 TBR soon in which I will talk about some of the high fantasy books that I want to read. Obviously, I'm not going to read just high fantasy because that sounds terrible, frankly, to just read like one subgenre all the time. Like, no. Obviously, I'll get into like my YA fantasy and my spooky books and whatnot, but main goal of 2023, read more high fantasy. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. If you have any suggestions though, please drop them in the comments. I would love to know. So yes, there we have it. That is the video. My back really hurts from sitting on this floor, so I'm gonna have to go. I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing about my reading stats for the year. Obviously, if you would like to share, I would love to hear some of your 2022 reading stats. I just think it's so interesting, and I'm a rather nosy person, so do let me know down below. 2022 has honestly just been an amazing year, like reading wise and just like life wise, mainly because I'm just so, I'm so grateful that there are so many of you guys now and that my channel has grown so much over 2022 and I'm able to share my love of books with so many people. And every time I think about it, I'm just like, I'm gonna get emotional or something. But 2022 really has been a turning point for my channel, and it's all thanks to you guys. I'm so incredibly grateful to each and every one of you, and I just want to let you know that I cherish every single one of you. So thank you so much for being here and helping to make 2022 such a good year. I also, another good thing that happened in 2022 is I met one of my best friends, Cassandra. You know her, you love her. 2022 has just brought so many good things to my life, and I'm so incredibly thankful. And I just, 2023 is going to be even better. I can just feel it. I'm going to go. I'm going to let you guys go. And I will see you all in my next video. And I will see you all. Yes? No, it's already 2023. Happy New Year. Alright, bye.